On the cloud. Okay, hi guys, Colin here from Practice Nav. So today we are very lucky to have Siobhan O'Donovan from Posture Matters. And Siobhan is going to tell us all about her business and how it can potentially help your business as well, because this is what this platform is about. It's about business and the business of healthcare and how running an effective business can enhance your patient quality of care. So, Siobhan, tell me a little bit about you and your business.
Thanks, Colin. So I guess the starting point for me is that I started my life as a PE teacher, and my focus has always been through my physio career on trying to prevent injuries and doing everything I can to educate people. So I keep coming back to the teacher in me, I think. And after many years of being on the clinical side of things, in the last few years, I've been specializing more on breast weight and breast support and basically how that can impact on women. And that all happened as a result of me in my mid-40s. And I say that because it took me that long for this to happen, me actually being fitted in an optimally fitting bra and walking out the door of the place that had happened and going, oh my God, I am an inch taller. I feel like I could take on the world. I feel like the way it made me feel just really hit me between the eyes in terms of, if I feel like this, how can this help my patients? Because, I was aware that I was treating a lot of women with upper back and neck pain, and kind of always, well, not always wondered why, but then began to put two and two together and kind of went, well, actually, a lot of times we talk to patients, male and female, about thoracic extension and about how we function better when we're in a more stacked position in terms of lungs, in terms of pelvic floor, in terms of musculoskeletal issues. And I started to just kind of join the dots, I suppose, really. Patients that I would in the past have taped into that thoracic extension to give them that proprioceptive input, I began to realize that I was always saying to them, this is like putting a bra on backwards. And then I kind of thought, well, actually, no, it's like putting a bra on properly and getting a fit that's actually going to give you both support and proprioception. And that's the bit for me that kind of is really important and sets us aside from just sending somebody to a shop, which is very often somebody's question to me, why don't you just send people to a shop? And the answer is because I'm looking at the concept of breast weight and breast support within the concept of alignment and posture and how we can assist ourselves intrinsically. And then the bra gives us extrinsic support. So you can have the extrinsic on its own, you can have the intrinsic on its own, but when you get the two of them together, well, there are so many puns. It's uplifting. It really, literally is uplifting. But the intrinsic side of it is something that, obviously I'm very aware that it's offered by physios, by exercise instructors, by Pilates instructors, by yoga. We all, we're looking at trying to get people to open up and to come away from this closed kind of position. I mean, yes, it's okay to go into it now and then, but overall, we know that this kind of overly flexed position can have psychological repercussions as well as physical repercussions. So aside from decreasing lung capacity, immediate lung capacity, it has psychological effects. It increases our cortisol levels when we're like this. It changes our voice. That's where the Alexander technique came from. It has massive kind of effect on mood. There's loads of research on the effect of posture and mood. It's fascinating.
So we're going down the clinical route.
Sorry.
So, no, that's okay. So from what I'm getting at there, your business then is essentially the extrinsic and intrinsic. It's a bit like how some physios prescribe orthotics as the extrinsic, and then the intrinsic, maybe the exercises and that sort of stuff. So what you're doing is you're providing the bra and then the advice and education to go with it. So it's a similar sort of concept, except you're the expert in the bra fitting.
Yeah, and that's a really good analogy actually, because and you can have one and you can have the other, but the two of them together, the sum of the two is much greater than the than the individual parts, for sure.
Perfect. And how did the business start then?
So having had my personal epiphany, I then kind of thought, right, I need to offer this to my patients. So I started, I looked at putting together, I suppose, what has ended up being a physiotherapy service, which is looking at the concept of how I can help somebody to improve their alignment, and not just improve it immediately, but be able to maintain it, which is then where the exercise side for sure comes in. And developed that for my patients, did a trial, and realized a few things. Realized it was massively successful for patients in the sense of they were amazed at the support, physically, literally, the support that they got from being in the right bra. The thing that amazed me, and I didn't expect this, and this was such a joy after 25 years in the industry, was how much their joy made me happy, and the job satisfaction that I got from it. And since then, and I'll go on to mention this, I now have some other physios who are offering this same service. And one of those physios said to me one time, I think this is going to make me fall in love with physio again. She said, I haven't fallen out of love with it, but I feel like this is really going to make me love it. And that's exactly what's happened for me. I didn't fall out of love with it, but it's given me so much pleasure, I suppose, joy, but job satisfaction to know that I'm making such a difference to women. And it's not just about this is your bra, this is your size, because it's not at all like that. It's a bit more complex than that. It's about this is how you fit yourself. You can go into any shop anywhere in the world. You can be mindful of your alignment and you can fit your bra to that. But it's not about saying to somebody, this is your size, and then come back and, you know, this is the only size you can possibly be. It's educating them, it's empowering them. And that for me was massive, and then made me realize very quickly, I can't keep this to myself. This is too good of a secret to be selfish about. And I wanted to get get it accessible to more women. So I've spread the net that way.
And when you say get it accessible to more women, is that more so that you're doing like the workshops, or you're teaching your techniques, I suppose?
Yeah. So what I realized was that I couldn't do it on my own, and particularly at this stage of my life when I'm looking at, doing, as you guys talk about all the time, not working yourself 70, 80 hours, a week, and working smarter. And so I realized the power of other people in terms of being able to get more physios offering the service. So what I did was I decided to put together a training program for other physios. So I now have what are called posture fitting physio partners, and they offer the service to their patients via and that's my business now, I guess, is having that. I'm kind of spearheading that and running that. And then to have that facility offered to other patients, I also felt I wanted to be able to spread the word amongst other healthcare professionals as well, because there are so many healthcare and exercise professionals that have access to women on a regular basis. And I just so wanted to get the word out to women. So I now try and reach as many professionals as I can that are working with women and provide. I have a workshop that I call Gals Against Gravity. And that's very much an awareness raising workshop, just to get the word out there that this is something that affects a lot of women, a lot more women than we realize. And it affects them in multitude of ways.
And as regards then, say, from the allied health professionals, is it mainly ladies in women's health, or physios in women's health, or is it pediatric physios that are dealing with the mums, or who's your cohort of people that generally go on the Girls Against Gravity workshops?
To be honest, when I started, I thought this, being an MSK physio myself, I very much thought this would be an MSK kind of target, if you like, that it would be mostly MSK physios that would be interested in this. But in doing all of my research and my evidence kind of seeking for this, I've become much more aware of the field of women's health, and I would hold my hands up and say it was something I was very ignorant of before, and I suppose I found a lot of very, very positive feedback and cooperation within the women's health field. So to answer your question in a non-Cork way, both women's health and musculoskeletal physios. Realistically, I haven't had any pediatric physios who've particularly gotten in touch with me. Part of that is possibly my reach. But you know, I really want to try and, for me, getting to teenagers, getting teenage girls aware of the importance of breast support, I think has a huge potential. And this is where PE teachers come into it as well. So I'm kind of going full circle in keeping girls and women playing sport, because they, you know, I won't bore you with this, but the statistics on the number of girls who drop out of sport is huge.
Yeah. 100% on that one. And yeah, it's great to see that in our profession, promoting the females and even, you know, guys staying in sport as long as possible. So the thing was, what my question was, I suppose, is, do you have to be a women's health physio to go on your course, or can you be an MSK physio who has an interest in, you know, just thoracic spine? And the pediatrics thing was more so to do with newborn babies when the mothers are breastfeeding. I suppose that's another element where they're in that position that you mentioned earlier. So just making sure that, like, if we just said it, because we get a vibe, maybe it's because it's postural fitting, because it's dealing with the breast or whatever, it may be just to do with the women's health physio alone, but we're looking at more potentially other avenues to spread the word better for you. Definitely.
The Gals Against Gravity workshop is open to anybody who works with women, and you're absolutely right. You know, there are a lot of issues that women have when they are breastfeeding, because their breasts are even heavier then, and there's a lot of myths around what breast support they should be wearing. So yeah, any woman who, and well, any professional who works with women, it doesn't have to be just women. I've had my first male physio on a Gals Against Gravity workshop, which was fantastic. I was delighted to see that. And so yes, to answer your question shortly, yes,
all
anybody who works with women.
Yeah, okay.
All
and then I suppose, as the actual product and the bra itself, how, I suppose, because when we ask people about product sales in their business, they find it a real difficulty in charging for it, number one, and prescribing it, number two. How do you get around that on your course, or how do you show the patient that it is adding value and it is worth the investment of whatever the cost of it may be? How do you work that?
There's a very simple, you'll be pleased to know, short answer to that, and that literally is they feel the fit. They feel it. As soon as they feel it, I mean, quite honestly, I have never had to sell a bra in my life. I've never had to do any selling. What I do is I assess the patient, I then fit them in their optimal fit, and then they will basically be taking my hand off to take what they're wearing and to order more. Because it's so, you know, women have said life-changing, women have said, you know, phenomenal. The words that have been used, you'd nearly think I'm making it up, but it has been life-changing for some women. So no, I've never had to sell it. It sells itself totally.
And then with that, are they then do they become, to talk about monetary terms, do they become a recurring customer then, going back to you for the same bra type every, I don't know how often you change your bra, or what, but like every so often, or is it more so they know the size now and then they go away elsewhere and they know where to get it?
Well, it can be either, because a big part, like for me, the biggest part of it is educating women into knowing what's right for them. And we have changes in our lives, all through our lives. We have changes over the month. So they get educated in that. So it's their choice then, whether they take that education. But a lot of times I think people will come back and will check. But also the other thing, and you've kind of hinted on this without even realizing it, the big thing for me with this is that this is a doorway for physios to bring patients in who may not be injured. and who are not in need, in the sense of, as physios, we very often have to wait for somebody to be in trouble before they'll come to us. And when I started all this, I very much wanted to get into the preventive side of physio, and trying to have people not need physio, but be doing the strength and conditioning, be doing the rehab, be doing the prehab to not get injured. And this is I suppose the bra is a really good hook to get people in the door who are not injured, who can then possibly become a patient on your books, because they've now got to know you, or they might mention, or you might notice their pronating feet, or the fact that they get a twinge in their elbow every now and then, so they can become a patient.
Okay, great. And then I suppose if there's a physio watching this, or an osteo, or a chiro, or massage therapist, or whoever watching this, and they're going, sounds awesome, I'd love to start that process. Well, then how do they go about it? So
contacting me is the first and the easiest thing, and I like to chat to people. You've probably gathered. So I'll generally have a phone call with somebody, just to be able to answer questions and be able to explain things. And then the ideal first step would be that they would attend the Gals Against Gravity workshop. And then from the Gals Against Gravity workshop, that's then where, from that, I will then invite people to become posture fitting partners. For me, it's very much about keeping standards really high with that. I'm delighted to say I now have 9 physios between Ireland and England, and very, very keen to get it worldwide. But I'm also very keen to keep the standards really high. So it's going to be something that I will be, kind of quality assuring, I guess, is the best way.
So I suppose it's kind of an application process or an interview process, essentially, because you want to keep the standards so high, which is.
Yeah, and during the Gals Against Gravity workshop, that gives me an opportunity to kind of get to know people and get to know their business and get to know their, you also want people who are going to be enthusiastic in terms of representing my brand. And I want them to feel as passionate about it as I do. Well, I'm not sure whether they'll manage that, but be close anyway.
Yeah, okay. Very good. And is there anything else you'd like to add about it, or any other bits and pieces that you think, oh, I wish I'd mentioned that? Or
I think for me the key thing is just encouraging physios and all therapists and all exercise and healthcare professionals to just open their eyes, really. I think sometimes we miss big things. We miss things that are right in front of us, because we're looking for smaller things. And I think I've very much come kind of back to basics with my philosophy of care, and I look at the bigger things first, and then I'll start to look for the smaller things, because I think we do so many things that have become almost ingrained. They all the talk nowadays about MRI findings and about how degenerative change is normal and blah blah blah, and I'm going, well, it's normal because of the way we're living our lives. Can we improve it? Does that have to be normal? Do we have to accept that we're going to have degenerative change at that level? Do we? So yeah, I guess what I'm saying is, I think we need to use our eyes, we need to use our ears, we need to observe. And I think sometimes we can get a bit caught up and miss some of those things. And the other thing just to say with this is that a lot of times people will ask me, okay, so how do I, how do I, as a woman, how do I find out about this? The ideal situation would be for a posture fitting physio partner to be somewhere near you that you could go and have a face-to-face assessment with. If that's not the case yet, for the consumer, for the patient, I am doing them virtually, which is challenging but doable. And if you're a healthcare professional and are interested in maybe taking on or talking to me about taking on the partnership, then that's great, because that gives me more people accessing more women.
Contact details.
Siobhan at posturefittingphysio.com. My phone number, you'll love this, is 087 posture. Actually spells out the word posture, so it's 087 7678 873. But 087 posture, real easy to remember.
Very good, very good. Okay, Siobhan, thanks very much for coming on today. Really appreciate you sharing the info with regards to a product sale in the business, because as clinic owners, sometimes we neglect the posture, or not neglect the posture, we neglect that product sales can be an actual good added value revenue source to a business if done well.
And I think that's key. If you truly believe that a patient needs the product, then there is no selling involved, in the sense of it doesn't feel like it's an effort. And if the patient needs it, and if you truly believe that, then for me, that's a no-brainer.
100%. Well, thanks very much.
Thanks.
I'm going to leave it at that today, and take care.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.